Boridaro. Pronoun dar every pony. This is BronyDan. It's not original, but hey, you try coming originality these days. Now, some of you may remember a few weeks ago when I did my list of the top 10 best episodes of Steven Universe. And you may also remember that my top choice was Lion 3 straight to video, because of how it was able to help Steven in developing a strong connection with his mother, all with the fantastic visuals and writing. I honestly felt that there wouldn't be an episode that could top it. So, naturally, I feel a bit of a prick when a few weeks later we get the Steven bomb and an episode like Mr. Greg shows up. I think out of all the episodes in the Steven bomb we've had so far, I've watched this one the most, and apparently so have a lot of people. And it is an episode that has probably been one of the most discussed and analysed episodes out there. So I suppose we have to ask, why do I think that this is the best episode of Steven Universe? I suppose it's best to explain the plot. After receiving $10 million for his music, Greg and Steven decide to take a trip to Empire City to celebrate, taking Pearl along with them. The only problem being that Pearl and Greg have never been that close because of Rose choosing Greg, but through a series of musical numbers they manage to put their differences aside, and by the end of the episode they finally become friends. I think from that synopsis you can probably tell why I love this episode. First, it's a musical number. Immediately that gets the points. The songs all help to move the story along, as they should, but they also serve as the point for the characters to express themselves. It's Over, Isn't It helps us to understand Pearl's constant struggle with accepting Rose falling for Greg, while Both of You helps Greg and Pearl talk about the tension between them. If I were to choose my favourite song out of the episode, and considering that these are the only two songs that people like to talk about, I would have to go with Both of You, since really I'm a sucker for songs that are played at a middle and low range. Now, if you remembered my list and when I was talking about Story for Steven and We Need to Talk, I made this statement. I so would like to have an episode where we explore the jealousy of Pearl, because I still feel like she has some resentment in her. While the scenario wasn't quite what I had wanted, the result was just as satisfying. I think everyone will agree that Pearl and Greg's relationship has always been a touchy subject, since it's really a petty little thing. In fact, Pearl even admits this in the episode. But this does show how human Pearl actually is. It's interesting, since she's the gem who struggles with human and earth aspects, she is the only gem who has experienced genuine human feelings and emotions. She has experienced first love, and she has had the experience of losing that love to someone else. But it's harder for her since she's now the guardian for her child. We saw in Rose's scabbard how this sort of thing is affecting her both emotionally and psychologically. We're also sympathetic towards Greg as well. He understands why he and Pearl don't get on, and he does want to try and patch things up with her.
You're having fun.
More or less.
So dance with me. Just say...
No!
Don't worry about it, kiddo. It's always been this way.
There's also an indication that Rose may have actually had similar romances with other men before Greg, and it would explain why Pearl is so bitter towards him, because he was the only one who actually succeeded in taking Rose away from her. But now let's talk about Steven. Steven is certainly an interesting aspect in this episode, as he's the one who actually gets Greg and Pearl to fix things between them. Or was it just him? We know how Rose gave up her physical form for Steven to be born, which is why he has her gem in his belly button, and we do know that in a later episode that Steven is able to enter people's bodies when they're asleep. So all I have to ask is, what if Rose did the exact same thing here? While her physical form is gone, that doesn't mean to say that her spirit is gone. It may still be in the gem itself, and Rose must have been aware of Greg and Pearl's feelings towards her. So perhaps when Steven slept, she could have taken control of Steven's body during the final act in order to fix Pearl and Greg's relationship. It does make sense when you listen to both of you, not with just the lyrics, but apparently there's a rumour that they actually got Susan Egan, the voice of Rose, to sing some of the lyrics.
You might not believe it. You might not believe it, but you got a lot in common. You really do.
Now, this is all just speculation, bear in mind, but if any of this actually does turn out to be true, then that does beg the question, what else could happen in the future? Well, those are my thoughts and theories on what I now consider to be the best episode of Steven Universe. It had good songs, great character development, everything about it just worked. And we should get excited, as for next week we've got part 2 of season 6 of My Little Pony coming up, and I cannot wait to review it. So, wait, hang on. Next week? Oh, shit.
You might not believe it, but you got a lot in common. You really do. You both love me and I love both.